Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning on the eve of the 32nd anniversary of the 74th Constitution Amendment Act. It was on 1st of June, 1993, that the 74th Constitution Amendment Act came into force, providing constitutional status to our municipalities. Today at Janaagraha's online convening, we will not just commemorate the 3 decades of the Amendment Act, we will also reflect on its impact and we will deliberate on pathways for empowering India's cities. Today, we will hear from Mr. K. Sanjay Murthy, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. We will also have an exciting panel discussion with elected city leaders and subject matter experts. And we will also have an insightful presentation on the performance audits conducted by the CAG office. We already have more than 100 people joining us online from all across the country and even from some cities outside India. We have active citizens, students, urban opinion leaders, elected city representatives, policy professionals, academicians, community leaders, civil society leaders, as well as friends from press and media joining us today. So without further ado, I would now like to invite Mr. Shrikant Vishwanathan to kindly deliver his opening remarks. Shrikant, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mansi. Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this very special convening. We have with us Mr. Sanjay Murthy, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. And it's very special to have the CAG of India deliver the keynote address today for 2 reasons. One, the generic reason that the CAG of India is the supreme audit institution. It's a constitutional position. It's a constitutional body that performs a very important function in serving democratic governance and accountability in India. But more importantly, a more proximate reason is that the CAG of India pioneered an audit of the implementation of the 74th Constitutional Amendment in 2020. And since then, these audits have been completed for over 20 states in India and the audit reports placed before respective state legislative assemblies. As we are all aware, the 74th Constitutional Amendment is the constitutional amendment that formalized local self-governments in India, both in cities and in villages. It has been a mixed bag in the last 32 years. It's a glass half full, if you like. But it's important for us to use this occasion to reflect on what has worked well and what needs to be done to further strengthen local self-governance in India's cities going forward. The CAG of India is among the most credible institutions in India, and I understand also among the world's best in the cohort of supreme audit institutions. Along with Mr. Sanjay Murthy, the CAG of India, we also have with us Mr. Subir Mallick and Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan. Mr. Subir Mallick is the Deputy CAG of India. Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan is the Principal Accountant General of Karnataka, which was the first state to complete this particular audit. They will be making a slightly more detailed presentation on their audit findings. Joining us also in a panel after that presentation will be Mr. S.M. Vijayanand, who is a former Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, the former Chairperson of Kerala's Finance Commission, and also one of the premier advocates and experts in decentralization in India. He also serves on the advisory board of the CAG of India. And on the advisory group of Janaagraha ourselves. We are really grateful for your time as well, Mr. Vijayanand. Joining Mr. Vijayanand in the panel will be Ms. Shelley Oberoi, former mayor of Delhi. We are hoping that the mayor of Indore, Mr. Pushyamitra Bhargav, also joins us, while we hear that he's part of a Prime Minister's inauguration happening around the same time, but we're trying to schedule it such that he's able to join us. At the end of this program, there will be a question and answer session with the audience and the panel. With this, I'll request Mr. Sanjay Murthy to deliver his keynote address. Mr. Murthy, really grateful that you made time for this and greatly appreciate the leadership and initiative shown by the Office of the CAG of India on such a crucial reform agenda such as this. Over to you, Mr. Murthy.
Thank you, Shrikant. A very good morning to everyone. Mayors, urban practitioners, civil society members, active citizens, and members of the media. and colleagues from the CAG of India. I'm privileged to join you this morning on the eve of the 32nd anniversary of the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. And this act is one of the most significant constitutional milestones that we have witnessed, which seeks to place urban governance firmly within the framework of democratic decentralization. It's just not an administrative reform, but it proposes to deepen democracy and bring government closer to the people. Now, as the Supreme Audit Institution, the CAG of India has a constitutional responsibility to uphold the accountability of the states. And while doing this, later in the session, we will have a presentation from one of our colleagues on the impact that this amendment has brought forth, how much has it achieved, and so on and so forth will be told in detail. I will not like to go into those aspects now, nor do I want to cover a well-known fact of how important urbanization and urban local self-government is as we are today. I just want to reflect on some 2-3 issues which I hope this seminar will try to deliberate further. First is that while we look at this constitutional amendment, we are always looking back to see how much has got devolved, how much institutions have been created, so on and so forth. But in this self-review, we should not forget that there are many good practices which have got embedded over these 3 decades. Okay. Something good has happened. Those need to be studied and disseminated further. I will tell you why. This country is too big. You've got close to 4,600 or 4,900 urban bodies which are there. You can't compare all of them with one yardstick. It's impossible. So when you do these audits, unfortunately, we start comparing everyone by that same standard. But I think we need to, going forward, identify some key critical areas wherein we study more deeply how in a certain category of cities, maybe 5 lakh plus and so on and so forth, what has worked and what has not worked. Devolution has happened in those cities. Okay, they have implemented some citizen-facing schemes there, implemented infrastructure projects, done town planning. But there has been a varied experience in how these have been rolled out. I will just quote one example of how a central government scheme like Ujala was implemented a decade back. I think everybody knows how this street lights LED was changed from fluorescence to LEDs across municipalities and panchayats. Now, this one singular scheme of the government of India could transform and create such an impact that you could have close to 1.4 crore LED lights being changed across cities, across panchayats. Okay. Ensuring that a peak demand load of 1500 megawatts was shaved just through one central campaign implemented by all municipalities. Okay, implemented in all panchayats, leading to a cost reduction of an LED lamp from 500 to 70 rupees. This all happened through some great design, engineering processes being put in place that this could get delivered right up to the smallest of smallest panchayat and municipality. Giving the diversity that we have within our urban local bodies, what is this type of structure that we should look forward to while executing such type of a scheme or a plan needs to be thought through. If we can deliver something there, I'm sure we can deliver something of that scale in other sectors, be it water, sanitation, transport, so on and so forth. There is this budget announcement of, I think it's called Innovation Fund or something, wherein I think 1 lakh crores as a challenge fund has been kept. Okay. 1 lakh crore actually entails an investment of 4 lakh crores, because 1 lakh crore is only the portion that the government of India is giving. Another 1 lakh crore the state governments are supposed to chip in, and the balance 50% is supposed to come from the urban local bodies. So obviously it entails them to that they need to go to the market to raise bankable projects to ensure that these things are executed. But having been part of this system and seen even developed local bodies, this challenge of preparing proper DPRs and going to the market, even in the best of urban local bodies, is a challenge. Now, if it is a challenge for them, I think it is much more difficult for a tier 2 town or a tier 3 town to do the same thing. So while not completely blinded by whether devolution has happened to the ideals that have been set forth in those 18 things, there always has to be a midway to see how you support through an executive mechanism the lesser endowed tier 2, tier 3 cities in executing these projects. So therefore, you need an institutional mechanism in states which can facilitate the preparation of these DPRs, do those due diligence to execute it. I can give you an example of the education sector where a similar scheme was there for quite many years. It is called the Viability Gap Funding Scheme there, wherein both sectors of health and education are got a special dispensation. They've got 30-40% viability gap funding eligibility there over and above any other infrastructure project. All over the years, even the best of education institutions could not tap this resource. And who have been able to tap it is only the ones like IIMs or IITs who have come forth and do it. So it shows about the amount of capacity that is required to even think of availing or implementing or tapping these resources that are available by Government of India. Now, there are 4 or 5 areas which I feel are pretty important that one should focus on. Otherwise, the area is so huge that we might lose focus while attempting solutions on while addressing these things. Solid waste management is one big area that all urban local bodies should be focused on. And I think a lot of work, both in CAG of India, in how solid waste management is implemented, has been conducted. There are numerous learnings that have come from these studies of ours. It has also highlighted how effectively this has been done in many urban local bodies, which are again not executive driven, but with the devolution powers that exist with those urban local bodies, that they have executed this. There is a need, therefore, to study and disseminate these best practices to all these other urban local bodies, which are large in number. But the mechanism of designing an architecture, on the analogy that I gave you on LED lights, is there some model that we can think that embeds this much deeper and faster? Because this reinventing the wheel takes away a lot of time of us, and I think if a proper model or a template is given, it's very easy. We in the CAG of India are contemplating to highlight these best practices which will enable the executive and the municipality to adopt this while going forward, such that they're also assured that if this type of a model is taken, there will not be any financial audit observations having adopted that model. But in that journey towards giving that assurance model to you, the municipalities would have to have their accounts in place, which is transparently done, wherein their sources of revenue are tracked properly, giving a fair assurance to any of the bidders of these projects that there is a reliable revenue source to fund these projects that will go forward. It is in this line that we are engaged with Janaagraha to see that we prepare a model manual for accounting of municipalities. Hopefully, we should have this done quickly, soon, and timely, which meets the needs of all the diverse institutions that exist. Beyond that, the other executive challenge after you have these accounts in place is a tool for municipalities to use, have an accounting software easily available with them, with not too much of an IP right, with a little bit of amendments or modulations that they can do to suit their local needs, is need of the hour. You need an application which can be readily accepted and deployed by all municipalities, especially the tier 3 ones, which will grow into tier 2 tomorrow, to have a transparent accounting system and a tool to capture their processes. It's not a mean task or a demand that we are having. Will be a lot of capacity building that will have to follow through to ensure this is in place. But if we are able to do these two things properly and timely, it will give a lot of assurance on the revenue streams that these municipalities have, to provide an assurance to bidders for contracts that there is an assured revenue stream to fund the projects that they want to take. Now, if you are able to address this operational issue in our journey, we need to study, and I'm sure these studies would have been done by other bodies about the accounting softwares that exist and how well they have got deployed and how well they are getting captured. But while we do the manual, I'm sure this assessment also will be done simultaneously to give alternatives that can be pursued by different state governments, for which the CAG of India will also lend its weight behind subsequent to that type of an assessment. Now, while talking about these finances, there's two other areas that I think are very, very important. And if a deeper thought is made to these issues, will be very timely. One is on climate change and resilience. How do town planning happen? What are type of regulations that these local bodies have in place? Because we always talk post, after a city has grown beyond some recognition, we bring in town planning in place, and then we try to correct those issues. These are really cumbersome processes that we have to go through to, and it's a reality. It is happening every day. These towns are growing in place, but there's no adequate knowledge or dissemination in these cities about the need for proper town planning as well as for regulations for infrastructure to come up there. Resultantly, we do have an explosion of these urban slums that are happening. And then you have in situ schemes for slum redevelopment also coming up. But again, the efficacy of these projects for even in situ slum redevelopment has been successful in many towns, but not successful in many. And I think the need of the hour is to look at how we can lend a hand. There's a lot of PPP involved in this. So therefore, there is a lot of uncertainty in this type of journey that any municipality traverses. We in the CAG of India would like to give some guidance or some assurance on any models that have been developed which have tested the situational front in those cities for adoption by any of these tier 2 cities who might want to attempt to do this. The third part is about urban transport. No city can flourish without a proper urban transport. Again, across the board, there have been very, very good examples of successful implementation, which again has been done through PPP, engineered by the local municipalities in creating such small urban transport services across their geographies. I think the need is to highlight these to the other cities for adoption, enabling them to deploy such organized urban services instead of the disaggregated service that one has in many of these cities. While there may be many more points of importance that may have to be addressed, but I feel that these three, which are amenable to some central template execution format on the analogy of the LED one, can be thought of, and all these large number of urban local bodies helped with this support by civil society as well as organizations like ours in the furtherance of their development journey. I really look forward to the deliberations that you have today to see how we, in our own journey of auditing the urban local bodies, how we are able to realign ourselves to meet these challenges that they face. Lastly, but I just want to say that we have a greater role to play in ensuring the transparency of accounts that urban local bodies do, and therefore we have envisaged or embarking on a initiative to ensure that any state government which wants the assistance of the CAG of India in certification of their accounts, we will be open to work with the state governments to ensure that we provide this service to them, to ensure the larger goal of getting investments in the urban local bodies based on certification done by the CAG of India, which adds greater value. Hopefully that should trigger better investment cycle for projects that they float. So this is the assurance I would like to give to the gathering here. And with our collaboration with Janaagraha, I'm sure we will address, if not all, a few of the big priorities that I've just highlighted, in addition to the other ones that you might like to throw up in today's agenda. But we need to have a firm action plan in place to ensure that we see visible results in the next 5 years, to ensure better processes are in place for greater capital investment in these urban local bodies. I wish all the participants again a very all the success in their endeavors in this very, very, very important area, and with the assurance that we would be behind them in all such great initiatives that may come out from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy, for that very, very thoughtful remarks, going beyond just the letter of the 74th Amendment, but into contemporary challenges and priorities for our cities. Really appreciate your time once again, and looking forward to working together and a greater leadership role that the CAG can also play. Thank you so much. Mansi, do you want to come in and take this forward?
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful and enriching words. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Subir Mallick, the Deputy Comptroller and Auditor General for Defense and Local Governance Audits, to please introduce the performance audits, the first of their kind performance audits of states on implementation of the 74th Constitution Amendment Act, which were conducted by the CAG office. And this will be followed by a presentation on the findings of the performance audits by Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan, the Principal Accountant General, Karnataka. Sir, please take over.
Thank you. Mr. Sanjay Murthy, CAG of India, Mr. Vijayanand, Mr. Shrikant, respected panelists and distinguished participants for today's seminar. The last 10 to 15 years, I think there has been a democratization of information. Even the very people living at the fringes and margins of civil society have access to information which was never available before. Information, knowledge of what is happening around the world in the country gives rise to aspirations. And these aspirations are flowing towards the urban dwellings. While we have 4,600 odd urban local bodies governing recognized urban areas, if we drive around the countryside, we will come across numerous, huge number of, say, gram panchayats in many sections of the country, which absolutely look like small towns today. They do not look like what we used to think of as villages, traditionally, some maybe 20 years back. They were quite different. They are quite different today. When we drive from one city to another, maybe a 4-hour, 5-hour drive, we are actually driving through panchayats. But they all look like small towns which we are driving through. So while the number of officially recognized urban dwellings today are about 4,600, perhaps the numbers are much larger. These aspirations which are flowing there, unless there is proper urbanization in the smaller centers, all this population will keep flowing to the bigger cities, which is happening today. So there's this need of greater development in the second tier and the third tier cities to draw the population there, which will have less sort of a demand on the resources. The urban bodies are rising to these challenges from very well-known instances such as bodies raising municipal bonds and money from the market, which the CAG referred to, in an effort to enhance their revenue streams. And there are some very micro best practices, like Jabalpur Municipal Corporation has used their condemned buses They've converted them into ladies' toilets on the banks of the Narmada, because the pilgrims, especially the ladies, have, a great problem when they come for pilgrimage. Where do they go? So these kind of, at the very macro level and the very micro level, there are best practices across the country. They need to be shared. Again, this was referred to by the CAG, the best practices. And for all this, we need a framework. The framework is what we are discussing today. We have 32 years of the framework. No framework ever promises or ensures that things will happen or implementation will happen. But it provides, it strengthens a person with initiative. And thankfully, there are a lot of people around us who have the initiative and the drive to serve society. So it gives them, it empowers them to do good things and bring good things to the people. So the 74th Amendment was, the very formalization of the framework, which was there even earlier. There were municipal acts, but this gave it a very clear nationwide and constitutional status. So we embarked on this audit of the framework, the 74th Constitutional Amendment, and it's not audit of the framework, rather implementation of the framework. We embarked in 2020 in partnership with Janaagraha, and by now we have actually completed the audit in all the states. It may be in progress in 1 or 2 states. We came out with a compilation which covered 18 major states for which the reports had been finalized and placed in the respective state legislatures. So this is a comparative. There are comparisons, but more than comparisons, it tries to delve into the various aspects of funds, functions, functionaries, which were sought to be devolved through the constitutional amendments, and where we have reached in that journey. Such journeys are like a road which does not end. So you just go from one place to the other, and with elements such as proper funding, accountability, proper structures in place, you hopefully in that journey you keep coming up at better and better destinations. So that is the direction which we are looking at. We have to look at the participation of our department in this endeavor has been outlined very succinctly by the CAG. So without any further ado, I would now request my colleague, Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan, Principal AG, Karnataka. So our office in Karnataka was the one which had initially collaborated with Janaagraha and had piloted this entire effort of performance audit of the implementation of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. So I will ask Vimalendra now to start his presentation. Thank you.
Respected CAG, sir, respected Deputy CAG, and distinguished panelists. I'll be making a presentation on the compendium prepared by my office. I'll share my screen so that the PPT is visible. Good morning. This compendium on the performance audit reports conducted in 18 states and laid before their respective state legislatures by June 2024 was prepared by my office in collaboration with Janaagraha. The compendium captures the essence of the findings, the trends, and the patterns on effective implementation of the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act.
Just 1 second. I wanted to ask everybody, can you see the full screen presentation?
You have to turn off the right side, I think, sir, the comments.
Need to turn out this next.
Sir,
Yeah.
we can also share if that might be
Now
better.
it's-
Might
Now I
also-
think it's okay. Yeah,
Now
good,
it's
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Right. Now the full screen is visible. So the background of the Constitutional Amendment Act was that the constitutional provisions for local self-government were not explicit. There was only a mention in the state list, which said that the states are responsible for local self-government, that is, the constitution and powers of the municipalities, improvement trusts, etc. Elections were suspended and ULBs were superseded for indefinite periods of time, and therefore democracy in the municipal governance was not stable. There was a steady encroachment on the assigned functions and revenues of ULBs by specialized agencies of the state government, such as the parastatals. This status of the ULBs and their inability to deliver, perhaps, crystallized the public opinion for constitutional guarantees for regular and fair elections, representation, and a firm footing between the state governments and ULBs on taxation powers and the sharing of revenue and planning. The 74th Amendment, which became effective from 1st June 1993, so we are on the eve of the 32nd anniversary of that date, gave constitutional status to municipalities under Part 19A. It added a 12th schedule of 18 functions to be devolved to the urban, which paved the way for the state governments to devolve these functions to the state government. It mandated regular local elections, reserved seats for SC, STs and women, and creation of metropolitan and district planning committees. And states were authorized to enact laws to endow local bodies with powers and authority to function as local self-government. So now, on the basis of the compendium, we can have an overview of the status of implementation after 32 years. Before that, I'd like to talk about the engagement of the CAG with Janaagraha. The office of the CAG signed a memorandum of understanding in December 2019, and the work started in 2020, as Mr. Subir Mallick said. The objectives of the MOU were to improve the technical guidance and support of ULBs, which is one of the responsibilities of the CAG, and undertake performance audit of the implementation of the 74th CAA by the Accountant General offices. As per the timelines, this work started in 2020, and this office, that is the audit of the AG Karnataka, tabled the first report of the PA on the implementation of the CAA before the state legislature. By June 2024, the performance audits in 18 states had been completed, and this office put together this compendium with the assistance and inputs from Janaagraha, which was released in November 2024. And as I said, today is the 32nd anniversary of the 74th CAA. So this is based on, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of the fact that the CAG does something called performance audits, which are essentially system studies. And this compendium covers 393 urban local bodies in 18 states whose reports were tabled in the legislature. Subsequently, two more reports have been laid in the legislatures, but they have not been included in this compendium. As one sees in the map, the major larger states in the country, with the exception of Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and Bihar, have been included in this compendium. The performance audits attempted to answer 4 questions. First, have the state governments adhered to the provisions of the 74th CAA in their municipal legislations? Are the ULSGs empowered by the state governments to discharge their functions effectively through the creation of appropriately designed institutions? Do the ULSGs have access and powers to raise financial resources? And do the ULGs have the power to mobilize and incentivize human resources commensurate with their functions? Each of these questions is subsequently answered in the compendium. The first is, have the state governments adhered to the provisions of the 74th CAA? The 74th CAA required that any law relating to municipalities was either to be amended or changed or rescinded and replaced with a new law which was in compliance with the 74th CAA. We find that most of the states have largely complied with this statutory requirement. The challenges which remain relate to effective devolution of municipal functions. While on an average, 17 out of 18 functions as included in the 12th schedule have been devolved, in actuality, real devolution has not taken place in most of the functions. And we find that 7 states distinguished these 18 functions into obligatory and discretionary. Continuing with the question, that have the state governments adhere to the provisions. The limitation that we found is that only 5 states have directly elected mayors. 9 out of 18 states have mayors with 5-year tenure, coterminous with that of the council across all UHG categories. The remaining states do not have mayors who have a coterminous tenure. They have mayors with a shorter tenure. 6 states mandate 50% reservation for women in the city council. Only 4 states have empowered the state election commissions with the delimitation of wards, which is a requirement under the CAA. And 10 states have overriding powers over the urban local bodies on more than 5 factors out of the 16 factors analyzed. These factors include the power to frame rules, power to cancel and suspend a resolution or decision taken by the urban local body, the power to dissolve local bodies, and the power to sanction bylaws, etc. So the second question is, are the ULSGs been devolved with the functions which are included in the schedule? So we find that on an average, only 4 functions have been effectively devolved to the ULSGs. And for example, in Bangalore, the functions relate to slaughterhouses, burial grounds, cattle pounds, which are not very critical. So the critical function of town planning, of infrastructure development, of water and sewerage, for example, have not been devolved. We also find that the percentage of devolution is larger than as in the west, the central states, and in the southern states, as compared to the states in the east and the north. And we find that on an average, 5 of the 18 functions are being performed by parastatals. Now we come to one of the essential requirements of the Amendment Act, which said that the State Election Commission shall supervise and control the preparation of electoral rolls, the conduct of elections to the municipalities, and the legislature may make provision with respect to all matters relating to elections to the municipalities. We found that 61% of the ULSGs in 17 states did not have an elected council at the time that we did the audit. And only 9 states had ward committees. Article 243I and Y require that the states should constitute a finance commission to decide on the devolution of taxes, the share of monies between the state government and the central government. More importantly, there is a timeline prescribed for constitution of these finance commissions. We found that only 10 states had constituted these state finance commissions as per the prescribed timeline. And on an average, there was a delay of 412 days in setting up the SFCs by these states. Now, the problem in the delay in the constitution of SFCs is that then the urban local bodies do not get their rightful share in the taxes or a devolution of the funds, and therefore they remain dependent on the discretionary grants given to them by the state governments. The other institutional mechanisms which are required are that the states shall constitute a district planning committee to consolidate the plans prepared and to prepare a district development plan. And for every metropolitan area, a metropolitan planning committee is to be constituted to prepare a draft development plan for the entire area. We found that the DPCs and MPCs are often not constituted or they remain inoperative. And in 5 states, the administrative approval of the state government is required to undertake infrastructure work. So in conclusion, on the basis of the compendium, we can say that no state has yet established the complete set of institutions and mechanisms required for ULSGs to function effectively. The next question is that do the ULSGs have access and powers to raise financial resources commensurate with their functions? We find that on an average, the urban local bodies generate only 32% of their own funds, leaving them highly dependent on union and state grants. On average, only 56% of the demand for property tax is realized by ULSG. So there are gaps in recovery and collection of the property tax as well, which is the primary source of revenue as on date for the urban local bodies. Fiscal decentralization measures are weak. There is a lack of autonomy for urban local bodies with respect to taxes and user charges. They are not independent to either levy taxes or to increase user charges. And fiscal management of ULSG is weak. It is, as the CAG had mentioned, this is more to do with the quality of the accounts that they prepare, the quality of the governance structures that they have, which results in either accounts not being prepared or unrealistic budgets or accounts which are not being certified by any statutory auditor. So as I said, on average, grants constitute 56% and assigned revenues constitute 12% of the total revenue of the urban local bodies. The next question is that do they have the necessary functionaries to perform their functions? So most of the urban local bodies do not have power over their staff. They are not empowered to assess their workforce requirements. No state has devolved all powers regarding recruitment, training, disciplinary action, promotion of staff to the urban local bodies. And 4 states are yet to notify comprehensive municipal cadre and recruitment rules. We found that most ULSGs do not have adequate staff. On an average, they have large vacancies constituting almost 37% against sanctioned posts. And town panchayats are even worse off, which are smaller municipalities, and they have 7 to 3% more vacancies than municipal corporations and municipal councils. Only 7 states have training institutes for municipal functionaries. Therefore, the number, training, availability, competence of functionaries in the urban local bodies is lacking. Now I come to certain points which emerge from the compendium, which are, in my opinion, points which we can ponder about. So the gaps which are present as of now. There is overlapping authority in most of the functions which are included in the 12th schedule. Either the state government or the parastatals have a major role. The urban local bodies do not have a say in urban planning, land development, or in certain functions like roads or infrastructure projects, the ULBs only have a minimal role or they have a dual role. As far as the municipal laws are concerned, some of the key provisions have not been implemented, and executive rules, notifications to implement the municipal acts have not been issued. And the ULBs still require state approval for raising or utilizing their funds. As far as governance is concerned, most of the staff is from the government. The ward committees exist only on paper or are dysfunctional. And there are delayed elections because either the elections have been held up because of court cases or for other reasons. As far as the state finance commissions are concerned, as I've highlighted, there are delays in formation of the state finance commissions. In some states, the government has not accepted the recommendations given, which leads to high dependence on grants. Now, some of the policy recommendations which emerge from this are, and as the CAG said, that this is we have to look at it with a nuanced approach, because most of the urban local bodies at the town panchayat or the municipal level are very small. So they do not have the wherewithal to have the technical ability or the manpower to execute larger projects or to execute infrastructure projects. More importantly, urban local bodies do not exist in a vacuum. They are dependent on the hinterland. Therefore, they are dependent on the state for many of the functions which involve water, sewerage, solid waste management, transportation. So some of the recommendations could be to mobilize their own revenue, update property taxes, rationalize cesses, expand user fees. A suitable funding framework, maybe improve the quality of their accounts, improve the governance standards, increase untied grants, encourage PPP models. As far as capacity building is concerned, fill vacancies, maybe the powers to recruit engineers, planners, administrators could be devolved. Training could be provided, skill development could be done, improved governance structures, internal controls, norms, rules could be framed, and maybe the central schemes could be leveraged, as the CAG had said, that we have the Ujala scheme, we have the smart city schemes, we have the Amrut schemes. So these are some of the suggestions which emerge from the conference. Thank you. That is all as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Subir Mallick for his insightful words as well. And now we would like to proceed further to our panel discussion for the day today. For the panel discussion, we will be joined by Mr. S.M. Vijayanand, Dr. Shelley Oberoi, and the panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Santosh Nargun, who is the head of participatory governance at Janaagraha. Mr. S.M. Vijayanand has been the Chief Secretary and the chairperson of the 6th State Finance Commission of Kerala. We also have Dr. Shelley Oberoi today. Dr. Shelley Oberoi has been the mayor of Delhi for two terms from February 2023 to November 2024. Dr. Oberoi is also an academician and has served as assistant visiting professor at Delhi University. We also hope that Mr. Pushyamitra Bhargav, the mayor of Indore Municipal Corporation, will also be able to join us. He is currently occupied with an inauguration event in his city right now, where the Prime Minister is also inaugurating. But we hope he will be able to join us towards the later part of the panel discussion today. So as I've said, Mr. Bhargav is the mayor of Indore Municipal Corporation since July 2022, and he has also been the additional advocate general at Madhya Pradesh High Court. With this, I'd now like to invite Santosh to kindly initiate the panel discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mansi. Very good morning to all the participants, and I once again welcome Mr. S.M. Vijayanand and Dr. Shelley Oberoi. Thank you, both of you, for really making this, taking this time out in your busy schedules. So we will go right into the, the discussions. So I will first invite Mr. S.M. Vijayanand. So someone who has seen and seen through the implementation of decentralization in Kerala, which is considered as, which is by many standards as the decentralization capital of India. So I would like him to touch upon a few areas, like what are some things like the CAG Mr. Sanjay Murthy also mentioned in his address earlier. What are some things that we have achieved through the 74th Amendment? And what are the gaps that we need to fill, and also enlighten all the audience with some of the best practices that Kerala has been able to implement. Because many a times we hear that Kerala has gone way ahead in terms of decentralization, but many urban practitioners ourselves are not aware of many of the best practices that are undertaken in Kerala. So I would specifically request you to touch upon that, and also touch upon how the People's Plan engages brings the community together in the entire management of urban local governments and cities. So I request Mr. Vijayanan to enlighten us on some of these points.
Thank you very much. By a strange coincidence, I happened to get a WhatsApp message today. It's a joke saying that we had world-class cities in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. We peaked too early, which means we need to learn a lot from them. But the first question you had sent me, I'll go by the 4 points which you wanted me to discuss, but I'll spend more time on Kerala, is that why is decentralization critical for 20th century Indian cities as we are moving to developed India by 2047? Just a fact that there is no developed country in the world, democratic or otherwise, without an elected local government. Unfortunately, in India, the stress is on, even when we are stressing urban local government, it is on the commissioner and not on the elected representatives. So this, unless you take it as an axiomatic thing, we will not move far. And what do you mean by decentralization? As I mentioned, it is essentially democratic decentralization. It's got administrative, managerial, fiscal, governance, political elements. It is this what makes it a local government. And Constitution is very clear. It says institutions of self-government, which is even more powerful than a local government. And of course, the characteristics we know of decentralization: citizen engagement, leading to participation, functional clarity, and very, very important thing which the Indian local governments lack: autonomy. Even if it's carved out space, within this area, you are autonomous. The Delhi mayor, former mayor is there. Very few people know that this is the autonomy I have. Some may work, some may not work. It's not this thing. Then, a very important point I wanted to highlight is the trust and respect you give to an elected local government. I call it soft devolution. This alone can make a local government function. Nothing. All others you can omit, but I trust a local government, say, these are the functions we want you to perform. They will certainly perform in any part of India. That's a point which I wanted to say. Then, of course, you have to structure it, facilitate it, and all that, but not direct it. And as was mentioned by CAG, we have town panchayats from 10,000 up to cities going to crores. So to have a common system is not that easy. So appropriate policy for that size, that capacity, that resource mobilization is something which is a simple thing. And then we are centralizing within decentralization, trying to create metro cities, add more municipalities to corporations. This is a very, very dangerous trend. So that is also we need to look at it. So if you do this kind of decentralization, certainly you can have a government which is for 21st century, a government which prevents alienation, which prevents submersion, which prevents marginalization. That's what we want. Make it very protective. If you want to be very protective, as the SDG says, none left behind. So if you don't want anybody to be left behind, we need the local government, where there is some kind of local public action and it addresses all this. And the biggest advantage, both theoretical and practical, is that they have a worm's eye view of differential needs of people. Even the same slum will have 20 different kinds of needs, which we can never get from above. The local people alone can bring out this micro needs and also the micro potential. It's not just needs. There's so much of potential which we don't know. It could be a small pond up to a mega kind of thing. Then I have found from Kerala experience, public service delivery improves, mainly through improvement of kind of infrastructure, basic infrastructure, at least the basic maintenance. And also, once there is an intermediation of the elected representatives, the officials seem to perform better. You just cannot throw away a person or shoo away a person who comes for a public service delivery. And Delhi was a classic example. I've heard a lot about it. Then Kerala experience, a niche area, which I didn't know, though I was there from day one of Kerala. Only after 10 years, I learned the care and compassion part, which make critical in 21st century. That is palliative care, cancer care, or people with disabilities, elders. Local governments seem to perform better than many of the so-called civic functions. So this is something which needs to be researched. And then the point I highlighted by the CAG, we need a conscious shift to economic development. I've done some courses in the West, small courses, 1 week, 2 week. Everybody says powerhouse of economic development is a local municipality. It's not this thing. It's not scale that local municipality can stimulate micro enterprise and local kind of thing. So this has not been much pushed. And the latest thing, which is not thought of when we had the 74th Amendment, local action to combat climate change. So these are the things, and only an elected local government can give what is now fashionable, not now, the last 20 years, right to city. That is the kind of thing. Okay, now the second point I wanted to ask is assessment of India's decentralization, been brilliantly done by the CAG and very sharply done. I never thought it's so sharp, saying that no state has done it and decentralization has failed. It's a clear verdict. It's not a 50-50, half filled and half empty. He has made it. The last part is there. So, but I want to tell you that there's a huge urban-rural difference, which means we have still hope. I've worked very closely with rural development. Of course, I was Secretary Urban in Kerala for 9 years also. So we call it local government, not Secretary Rural Urban. So this is something. And then Janaagraha, through conversations I have confirmed, in urban local governments, there has not been any additional devolution after 74th Amendment in most parts of the country. They were doing functions which they were doing earlier. So that is again to start with. But there are some which we can be proud of, stable elected local governments. At least they are there for their 5 years. But recent disturbing trends of non-election and courts being not very powerful. Earlier courts were very, very powerful, said just get the elections. We are not bothered about electoral rolls or reservation. But now courts are not there. 2 to 3 years, many cases are very, very disturbing that we are not having an unambiguous thing. Then, of course, reservation and rotation in the Indian context is a remarkable kind of achievement. And since I've seen it from the day one, I remember my taking notes in the Parliament of the 73rd Amendment as a Deputy Secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development in 1992. So from that memory, I can say you, the Union Finance Commission devolution is an unexpected bonanza. It's the only constitutional thing which has exceeded expectations. That needs to be noted. Then, of course, improved accounting audit. And another very recent promise is CAG's interest in local governance. CAG, being an independent, autonomous constitutional authority, can push this considerably. Then, of course, more centrally sponsored schemes have come, but unfortunately, they are not strengthening the elected local governments. Though in the initial days of JNNURM, this was one of the conditions that you need to strengthen an elected body. But now it's a wishy-washy thing. They are all interested in the urban geography and not the urban local government. So have a big water supply, have a smart city. But what about the elected representative? There is not much. Much of it is outsourced. The right from project preparation up to monitoring is all outsourced, and there is hardly any local involvement. Of course, the failure part, the progress part I mentioned, failure, there are still civic functions and whittled down also with a lot of parallel parastatals. And it's ironical that solid waste management rules are prepared in Delhi for a local government. Maybe there is some technical thing read, but it has to be ultimately a bylaw in the local government. And the core constitutional institutions of local governance, the DPC, non-functional in all the states of India. MPC, even worse, is not even functional in Kerala. State Finance Commission, it was mentioned. And the Wards Committee. So they're all constitutional institutions, which we have ignored. And we all blame it on the Constitution. The Constitution says may devolve functions. It doesn't just say may devolve functions. It says may devolve functions so as to make them institutions of self-government. So if you read the whole thing, it's a very powerful thing. But we all don't do that. Then urban, I'm only talking of urban, not local governance. There is no development of an institution for capacity building at the state or local levels, barring some state urban development institute, which are very, very weak and all that. And many good initiatives have not been scaled up or institutionalized. The best being the late 90s, they came out with the municipal bonds. Then the TNUDF, which is a remarkable model for raising funds for even town panchayats with high quality projects. So these kind of things are very, very weak. And then a sad part, which we all have to take blame, there's very poor understanding of local governments in any sense of the term, constitutional, legal, judicial, administrative, political, economic, even statistics. Your statistics is not for the municipal boundary. You go to the census, again, it will not catch a panchayat boundary. Academic understanding, civil society. So we need to go to basics. And unfortunately, there is not much space in political or public discourse. You analyze a budget speech, analyze a manifesto of any party, there's hardly any mention of local governance and strengthening the people. So it's not a very happy situation. But now I'll go into the optimistic part. Let's not lose hope. It is, the constitution is there. That's very important. And we have to unlock its potential. It's a long and difficult road. Now, coming to the Kerala example, Kerala, we got a brief window of opportunity. Decentralization is deeply political. They will not keep the window open for years. Maybe in maybe it could be a few hours to a few days. We want to decentralize. This is my government's agenda and manifesto. So it requires a lot of people to sit together and structure it before they roll back. So fortunately, we are very fortunate in getting civil society, some political leaders who are academics and officials working together to structure it. And now I don't think it can be rolled back. Quickly going through the thing is clarity of functions. Now a citizen knows what he or she has to go to a municipality for or a panchayat for. Absolute clarity. And institutions are run by the municipality. Right from taluk hospitals or big hospitals down to primary health centers, all high schools. So that accountability is very sharp if a public institution is managed, at least on paper, by the local government. So that is very, very sharp. Then a very interesting thing which came out, and we wrote the words, work and worker will go together. It is mentioned that HR is a big issue. You can't recreate government through local governments, which means those doing work somewhere will have to shift to local governments or at least work for local governments. Like we were in the IAS, we have central government in a sense recruited, but we work for state governments and go back to central. So that kind of thing is there. And then the most beautiful part of Kerala's decentralization is the classical fiscal decentralization, the quantum of devolved funds, which is huge. For want of time, I will not get into the numbers, untied substantially for local application. That's very, very important. Then fairness, 100% is formula based. Even the chief minister cannot give 1 rupee to his panchayat. He comes from a rural area. And it's predictable. You know what you will get over the next 3 years, which is very important for any planning. And it is protected in the budget. Each, not municipality, each Grama Panchayat is given the allocation in the formal budget document, which is presented in this. So these are some of the good this thing. But most important, as you mentioned, is participatory planning. If you look at from the view of participation, nothing is perfect, but still it gets a lot of people involved to discuss status reports, a lot of meetings and all that, and very systematic stage by stage planning. And it's the same for rural and urban areas, which is something which I would strongly this thing, and supremacy of the elected body. I was there when we changed the name of the commissioner to secretary of the corporation. There was huge resistance from the bureaucracy, but finally they are secretary, just a secretary to government. Even the cabinet secretary is only secretary to the cabinet. So he can't be a commissioner of government of India. So that point was it's ideological, but that was, and autonomy. No decision of an elected government can be overturned even by the cabinet. You have to refer it to an independent ombudsman who has to give the view. So this exists nowhere. And a lot of good governance features like transparency, norm-based allocation, citizens charter, code of conduct, and a very, very powerful ombudsman to address issues of maladministration. Then, of course, we give a CSP, TSP, social justice elements, a lot of inclusion, and a very, very important lesson for the rest before I go to the last point is SHG partnership. SHGs are developing. They're not well developed in urban areas. Rural, they are fantastic in India. There are 1 crore SHGs in India now in rural areas. They will soon come in urban areas, but slow development. That's something which urban supporters don't really work at. You bring in SHG, it will complement the local government. It'll create demand for the poor. It'll create visibility and all that. Now, finally, the roles and responsibilities. Have I exceeded my time?
Sir, you may take 1 or
2
2
minutes.
minutes and conclude.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So roles and responsibilities of union and central government. The MOUD has to learn from MORD and MOPI. First is in how to deal with state governments. It's all government of India. And then use of centrally sponsored schemes to push decentralization. BRGF created DPCs in India. And capacity building, we have a National Institute of Rural Development, State Institute of Rural Development. We have a lot of this thing. And there is something called GPDP, using the Finance Commission, whatever resources you have to push planning. And there's a E-Gram Swaraj in this thing, which has basic data of all panchayats. Then pushing social accountability through social audit, which at least the ministries have been doing. Now they are doing localizing SDGs, local action against climate change. These are all being pushed by the Ministry of Panchayat Raj and all that. And awards, best practices documentation, best practices being awarded at the national level from 2.5 lakh panchayats. It's very easy to get best practices from 4,500 odd thing. And concept of national resource organization and a state of municipalities report. If there's a major point I wanted to make, either MOUD can do it or a civil society can do it, like people's assessment, a state of municipalities and state of devolution. So what can states do? There is something called responsibility mapping. You just, as is where is, I don't think anybody is suddenly going to change the political will and decentralization is going to flow. But we have already given some functions, real functions. So you just map their responsibilities and say, tell the panchayat, this is what you do in health, this is what you do in sanitation. DPC, MPC, yes. SHG linkages I mentioned. Now there is something called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, which has huge potential to get the colleges involved, and urban areas of all kinds of colleges, including engineering colleges, to get into it. And the concept of accredited NGOs who are willing to help the local government at a reasonable cost. So let me conclude. The importance of economic development and social justice in 21st century, and with ecological development, which is why these are integrated concepts, which Ambedkar saw. Economic development, social justice, you can't separate. And we also, let me end on a poetic line. The woods are lovely and dark and deep, but we have to catch the word lovely, not because they're dark and deep. They're really dark and deep. And I have promises to keep. 2047 is a promise. And miles to go. Yes, it's very tiring. And miles to go. So we have been beating about the bush for 3 decades. We have not entered the wood. A long way to go. But if you look at the two things of lovely woods and promise, I think we have to go. Wish you all the best. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Unfortunately, for health reasons, I need to withdraw at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Vijayanan, for making, giving a bird's eye view of what are the good practices in Kerala and your assessment of the 74th Amendment, and giving us hope that, you are someone who has seen over the decades the entire journey of the 74th Amendment, having seen all the ups and downs. You are leaving us, on this panel with the hope that 2047, there is a lot of promise to achieve by 2047. Sir, I would like to bring in Shrikant also to join this panel discussion, and we'll go next to right to Dr. Shelley Oberoi. But if Dr. Shelley permits me, I just want to take one small question to Mr. Vijayanan before he, we come back to you. It's a very small one. Maybe you can answer in maybe 30 seconds, sir. So someone, one of the audience is asking why has, and I think it's important for many other states because as far as I know, these other states have not tried. Why does Kerala does not have different departments for local self-government for both urban and
See,
rural?
this has been recommended by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission. This is historical. And Kerala, there is hardly any difference between urban and rural. Maybe that would have motivated, I think, ever since I remember in government, it is one department and really helps. It really helps. Because we are talking on urban, I didn't mention this. So I will take leave, but it looks very ugly to leave like this, but I think I should tell the explanation, though it's very personal. I'm just recovering from a stomach surgery and I cannot sit for long. So sorry, otherwise I would have stayed on and answered all questions. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Bye.
nevertheless. So I will move now to Dr. Shelley Oberoi. I think Delhi is a represents all the challenges and all the opportunities that any city in India can have. And I think we are very fortunate to have you on this panel discussion, having yourself been at the helm of the national capital. I think Delhi has a lot of pros, implemented the CNG buses way back, 2 decades back. In terms of GDP, it's one of the cities with largest GDP in the country. So I would like you to touch upon a few points on especially on the metropolitan governance. First of all, your views on how the 74th Amendment has fared and what can be done to strengthen the urban local governance. But you may also touch upon a few things on how can we have a differentiated governance for large cities like Delhi and as against smaller towns which are just transitioning from being rural areas to small towns. And you yourself have had it's such a irony that the national capital has got a mayoral term of only 1 year, and almost 1/3 of the cities in India have had terms of only 1 year or maybe 2.5 years. So your reflections on that as well. So some of these points you may cover, and especially how has your experience been with citizen participation, and how does it help? Over to you, Dr. Shelley.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me today as a panelist. And many congratulations to the organizers for organizing this online conference for celebrating the 32 years of the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, empowering the Indian cities. First of all, everybody is talking about the Constitution Amendment Acts. I've pointed down a few points on this, that this Amendment Act doesn't only provide the constitutional status to the local bodies, but also decentralize power and empower the urban areas, urban local bodies by providing a constitutional basis for their governance. And as far as the CAG report is concerned, it not only keep a check that how efficiently the funds has been utilized by the corporations, by the municipalities, but also keep a check that the state government that has adequately provided the empowered the urban local bodies, that the proper grants have been utilized or not. So a lot of things are there. The CAG report, I was just looking at the presentation, and a lot of points I have written out from the findings of the CAG report as well. Let me tell you that before 2022, Municipal Corporation of Delhi had 3 zones. It was trifurcated. And after the delimitation, in 2022 December, this Municipal Corporation of Delhi was again a unified corporation headed by mayor, deputy mayor, commissioner, and the elected councillors, and dealing with the 20 million population of Delhi. Though that is not easy, especially the capital city of India. So a lot of functions are there, and let me tell you that the Municipal Corporation of Delhi is being functioned as per the DMC Act, Delhi Municipal Corporation Act. And the primary responsibility of Municipal Corporation of Delhi is the sanitation, providing the proper infrastructure, providing the proper public health, community well-being, regulation of advertisements, solid waste management, engineering landfills, collecting the revenue, the property tax, the toll tax. So it is a huge responsibility. 90% of the facilities in Delhi is being provided by the Municipal Corporation of Delhi. But it's a very big job for a single mayor heading the entire corporation. And I think everybody saw what happened on the national television when I was elected as a mayor. But in last 2 years and 2.5 years, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi till date doesn't have the standing committee. That is the most important body of the Municipal Corporation of Delhi due to some political tussles and political disagreements. And standing committee is that committee which not only is a permanent body that is makes the financial decisions, makes the also involved the entire the policy making is done by the standing committee. So that was a major setback by the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, and I headed municipal MCD for almost 2 years, and we faced a lot of challenges. We will not, I will not give my comments as the public representative of any political body or a political party, but as a mayor and as a heading the corporation of any city in India, there are certain major challenges which I feel. I will share my experience first. That number one, there were a lot of financial constraint. There were not a proper budget. Although few grants and few financial support was given by the state government, and MCD is having approximately of 16,000 crore of the budget, and it is only in the books. It is a fictitious budget. There is a lot of problems and challenges for collecting the revenue, especially from the property tax, because due to some political reason, every political party says that we don't want to issue notices to the general public. There are a lot of political pressures. Any corporation, there are two parallel governments in any corporation. One is run by the bureaucrats and the other is run by the public representative. So important thing is the coordination between bureaucracy as well as the public representative and the officers and the staff which are working in the corporation. This is the primary, that is the most important thing which is required to run any corporation effectively. Number two is there is a lot of limited autonomy in the any corporation. And as far as the Delhi is concerned, we follow the DMC Act. So there are a lot of foundations, there are a lot of acts which we need to follow. Third is there are a lot of political interference, as I said, there are a lot of bureaucracy interference. There is a lot of pressure on the bureaucracy, especially when the central government is headed by a different party, the state government is headed by a different party, and the corporation is headed by a different party. So there is a lot of lack of coordination in running the corporation. Then, as Vijayanandi said, that there is lack of accountability, as he quoted about the responsibility mapping. That is very much important, because I'm a public representative. I know that people have chosen me, the local residents have chosen me with a lot of expectation. I need to deliver them. So some accountability and responsibility should be set, not only on the part of public representative, but also on the bureaucracy level. Then the inadequate HR, the proper workforce management is also required. Let me tell you that the MCD has approximately more than approximately 1.5 lakhs employees, starting from the A category to the D category of the employees. So proper management is required. MCD faced a lot of financial constraint, and in last 10 years, there was a time when the employees and the staff was not getting their salary timely. But we tried our best. We collected a lot of revenue, and in last almost more than 1.5 years, we are providing them the salaries, because it is only the sanitation workers as well as the staff who perform at the ground level. Then the next is the inefficient tax collection, as quoted by the respected CAG, that we need to follow a proper system. We need to have a proper tax collection schemes which should be implemented every year, which will not only help the municipalities in overcoming the financial constraints. As you talked about the term of a mayor. Yes, this is the biggest problem which even I face, that whenever a mayor chairs a seat, that chairs the municipal corporation of Delhi, that they will head the corporation, but as soon as the learning process starts, the terms end. So that is the major problem. And I saw the report that out of 18 states, only 6 states are there, comprising of the 393 municipalities where direct elections are being held and where the mayor has a 5-year of term. So whenever the policies decisions are made, and when the implementation and the policy making, the term, that is the gap between the two mayors, that is a major setback, and it's very difficult for its implementation, for its effective implementation. Then the next challenge was it depending on the grants. as the MCD has had a lot of financial problems, financial constraints. So we were totally dependent on the state government. And definitely at that time, when I was heading the corporation, the state government helped a lot in education, as well as the the health. The funds were provided for the health system. We have maternity centers. We have big hospitals, approximately 10 to 12 big hospitals, which are run by the Corporation of Delhi. So you also talked about the citizen participation. Yes, this is also one of the most important part. The awareness among the citizen, the awareness among the local resident, cleaning their own areas, cleaning their own, cooperating the public representative, cooperating the officers, cooperating the corporation for making their city, making their local area clean and beautiful. That is important. Proper town planning is also one of the most challenge, because as far as I see Delhi, because I'm born and brought up in Delhi. So I've seen there is a lot of lack of proper town planning in Delhi. So we need to have proper provisions for the same. And Vijayananji also quoted about the how the public representative can be empowered. A lot of respect should be given to the public representative. The important always the public representative came to me from belonging to any party. They came to me and they talked about the allowances and the salary for the public representative, which will not only try to bring down the corruption level, and also the empowering the public representative, because there are a lot of things which the public representative has to face at the ground root level. So these are the things. And let me tell you, proper training of the staff. Vijayananji also quoted about the providing the proper training to the MCD officers, MCD staffs from higher to the lower level. When I was heading corporation, we signed MOU with the IIM Kozhikode, the toppest prestigious institute of India. We signed the MOU with them, and till today, the principals, we provide the primary education. We have a lot of MCD schools which provide the primary education. So we signed an MOU with them, and till today, lot of batches of teachers and principals are taking training from that prestigious institute. So proper training is important. The proper the PPP model should be more encouraged, so that the corporation will work efficiently in different projects. Next is the providing the adjustment of the budget from provision from the center, state, as well as the other agencies. The different schemes by the central government, although they have provided us a lot of funds through those schemes, even the state government, even the other agencies, the pollution board, the central government. So that is much important, so that the corporation can run in a very efficiently manner. Then proper salary, I had talked about the public representative should be given proper salary, proper allowance. The term of the mayor should be increased to the from 1 year to the 5 year, or maybe 2.5 years. So proper provision should be made in the amendment should be made in the acts. Then the timely elections, because as I know that when the delimitation started in 2022, there was a time when there was a lot of gap between when there was no public representative in Delhi. So that 8 to 10 months, I think the corporation could not perform up to the mark. And proper reward, and he also talked about the reward and recognition of the different corporation. As I know today in India, Indore corporation is one of the best performing, giving the up to mark performance. And even at the international level, the Indore corporation has been recognized. So that is important. We should have a proper ranking system for every corporation at the national level, which will not only improve the performance of the corporation, and they will also follow all the provisions given in the acts in the 73rd and the 74th amendment level. So these are my insights. And maybe at the national level, not only the corporation, I've been to many conferences, and not only at the national level, but on the international level. But there is a still a lot of gaps are there, lot of things we need to improve in the performance of the corporation. Like number one is he talking about the 5-year term of the mayor or the 2.5 year of the term, regular elections, participation of the women reservation. I read that only 6 states are there which are having 50% of the reservation for the women. Then the talking about the ward committee, like we have the proper ward committee in the municipal corporation of Delhi, and we have almost 12 zones, and 12 zones had the proper ward committee headed by the chairman as well as the deputy chairman. So at the root level, the Delhi Corporation of Delhi has performed well in last 2 years, and maybe in the coming times in proper coordination with the central government as well as the state government, the corporation will perform well. And but the proper audit as quoted by the respected CAG, the proper utilization of the grant, the proper adequate help by the state government, proper empowerment given by the state government to the local bodies, and also the importance of the recommendations given by the State Finance Commission, that also should be efficiently followed by any corporation.
Think extremely important points. I think, I mean, we could not have imagined, someone making these points, covering with such a wide scope and making those points so emphatically. I think some of the points really stand out and really are path breaking. I think the ranking of corporations. I would like to bring to the notice of the all the audience and all the people who have joined us. The 73rd and 74th Amendment have are called as twins. They came into force in the same year, 1992, just a difference of about a month or so. But the 73rd Amendment, ironically, we say that villages are behind in compared to cities. But I think in terms of governance, the villages seem to have gone far ahead. And by now, there have been like 6 national level assessments of how the various states are performing on the 73rd Amendment. At the same time, there is no assessment for the 74th Amendment until the CAG came out with its report. So I think in that context, Dr. Shelley, your suggestion about ranking the corporations, not just on Swachhata, but on the overall administration, I think is a great point. That is something which will definitely include, as part of our, proceedings of this panel discussion and also carry to the policymakers. I think, so one thing you mentioned about the Indore Corporation also, it's nice to see, the different mayors looking at best practices from other states and other cities. It's really heartening to see. We only wish that more and more mayors are given the spotlight. We have, in a small way, because when we thought of doing this panel, many suggestions came that we should call this MP or that MLA or this minister or, the higher policymakers. But we thought that we cannot pay better tribute than calling a few mayors. So we'll take this tradition forward. But on the point you're making about Indore and contrasting that with Delhi also, how do you see, how do you assess directly elected mayor versus a indirectly elected mayor? Would you wish that Delhi also had a directly elected mayor, and if so, why? For a 5-year term.
We talked about the direct election for the mayor. I think that can be initiated in a capital city like Delhi also, which will not only give more power to the sitting mayor, as well as the better coordination will be done with the chief minister of a particular state as well as the mayor. So they will not be degraded in any way, because we have experienced that even the previous mayor who were heading the 3 zones of when there were traffication in the corporation of Delhi, I think even not any single citizen at the grassroots level, they knew the name of any mayor. So I think this should be done, because when everybody knows about the MPs, when everybody knows about the chief minister, why the mayor was not given that spotlight? Then only I think that empowerment to the mayor will give more boost and motivation to the public representative to perform it.
So you think that some of these basic ingredients which were left out in the 74th Amendment, like, it calls for an election every 5 years, but that is followed more in violation these days than in, it's more of a violation than as a, following. So some of these things need to be like a 5-year term also should be clearly specified in the 74th Amendment if and when it is taken up for
From my side, a lot of conferences, and every time, every mayor of the city, they raise this question of 5 year of the term of the mayor. They talked about the delayed of the elections, which we saw in BMC. I think it's been many years. I think election has not been contested there.
it's
elected
been
there.
more than 3
And
years. Yeah.
yes. And also every mayor, every public representative at the national level conference, at the international level of conference, especially those who represented India at the international level, they talked about the allowance and the salary to be, and the medical facility to be given to the mayors, so that not only to the mayors, but also at the grassroots level of the public representative to the councillors, that will not only will lower down the corruption level, because everybody knows about that, then, and also which will lead to the capacity building. It will boost the level of the councillors. They will perform better. They will not only perform for the political party, but they will perform better as a public representative at the ground level.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shelley, for making all these points. I'll just want you to answer one or two small questions, and then I'll let you go. So one thing that one of our audiences, in fact, I would like to share with all the people who have joined us today. There is a group of students who have joined from Kurukshetra, Haryana. These are active citizens doing, bringing a lot of changes in their areas, and our civic learning team has been working with the Kurukshetra government schools. So for one of the students would like to know that in the West or in the advanced countries, developed countries, the youth and the young citizens have opportunities to work with mayors and councillors and know about the civic government, the local government. So have there been any instances? I'm sure you mingle a lot with people and youth. So what are your experience, or how you have been able to engage youth in your experience, and how can it be more institutionalized?
I think now even the Rajniti has changed. More of the youth people and educated people are entering this field. And as far as the involving the student participation is concerned, when I was mayor, even at my time, even during my time, we started an internship program where we gave invitation to the Delhi University student, the student from the different universities and colleges, to come and join us and work along with us. So we started this initiative at that time.
Just one last question, Dr. Shelley. So this is from our from my colleague, Ms. Anuja, who heads the Councillor Leadership Program at Janaagraha. So we are focusing to, like you said, about the training and capacity building, particularly of the women councillors. So many a times we see this syndrome of Pradhan Patis, particularly in the rural areas, and even in the urban areas, we have seen the male family members dominating the scene, where the female members are elected. In fact, the reservation, as per a study that we have done, it indicates that thanks to reservation and overall across the country, more women are actually elected in many states, even surpassing the reserved posts actually. So it's a positive trend that we are seeing. But how do you see, like, what is your thought on how to break this male domination from your own experience as someone who has been the mayor of the national capital? So what will be your advice to people, what people can do, what community can do, and what the political parties and elected representatives can do to encourage more women to lead our cities?
See, just to empower women, the 50% reservation has been initiated in many states of our country. But women empowerment doesn't mean that they should not be given independent identity. They should not be given the power to make their own decision. But even we have experienced the same, that the most of the family members, they are helping their the women public representative. But I think the family's support is very much important for any women, not only in politics, not only as a public representative, in any of the field. The family support is very much important. Even my family supported, even my family supported at the back end, that we are there and you should be at the front and you should take your own decisions. So I think this is my request to every public representative, especially to the women public representative, whether they're councillors or MLAs. So we need to challenge the gender inequality. We should, women are not less than anyone. They take their own decision. And I think women are more powerful, because not only they are managing their professional life, they're managing their personal life as well. They are raising their kids, they are managing their household chores. But now things have really changed. So it is a request from my side to everyone: give more power to women, so that they can come move more forward and help, and not only help, should come forward for the development of our state, development of the city, and the development of the country.
Yeah. So it's not just about making these provisions in our acts and rules. It's also about how the society stands by women and and enables them to take on more responsibilities and lead the society and the cities. So
But
thank you so much. Yeah,
now
please.
there was a time when only the women were only confined to the kitchen, they were only confined to the household
Definitely.
work. But the things have changed now. So time to badal chuka hai. They are working in every field, whether it is medical stream, whether it is politics, whether it is engineering field. So women are representing themselves even at the international level in a better way.
In my own experience in working with the people and the councillors in so many years, I have found that always the women councillors and women mayors or chairpersons of the city governments, I've seen that their dedication actually beats the male folks work in many ways. So I think it's very encouraging. Dr. Shelley, thank you so much for joining us on this panel discussion. We will definitely be in touch with you and look forward to engaging you more on many more occasions. So thank you so much, and all the best for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Shrikant, I would like to bring you in here. The Janaagraha's own journey has been, overlapping with that of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. Janaagraha was founded almost 25 years back, and in many ways, the quest to make our city governments more empowered has been running parallel through Janaagraha with the 74th Amendment. So how do you see how far we have come as a nation, as a society, in empowering our local governments, and how do we take it forward from here?
Thank you, Santosh. I want to thank all the 130 participants who've been patient and who've been listening in. I think we were at 180 plus at some point. So thank you to each one of them. This is a very important agenda that requires more widespread attention and public engagement for this to become a political agenda. So to answer your question upfront, Santosh, I don't believe decentralization or empowerment of local self-governments has become a public agenda and therefore a political agenda yet. It is still an agenda that is pursued by small groups of civil society organizations and think tanks, besides, of course, elected councillors themselves, who also feel the pinch of not being adequately empowered and seeing their own full potential for public service being constrained. So I think we are lagging behind. That's something we have to admit. And the CAG's audit report and our own work on the annual survey of India's city systems amply demonstrates that with a lot of data. The CAG's effort particularly is hugely significant because The CAG of India is the auditor of the Union of India and of the states. And they have actually made, through their audit reports, they've made this agenda an agenda for MLAs. So every MLA in each of these states has access to these audit reports and has a chance to exact accountability from respective state governments. So to answer your question, we are lagging behind, and there have to be firm steps taken by the union government, the state government, and some steps that the city themselves can take, or the mayors and councils themselves can take, to take forward the reform agenda. Just to illustrate how much we are lagging behind, Mr. Vijayanand mentioned that there is no developed country without elected local governments. Yes, I don't think there is any developed country without empowered local self-governments, particularly in cities. Not only that, in my experience, India, even in our own peer group, if you take countries like Philippines, Indonesia, South Africa, Brazil, Mexico, India has the weakest system for local self-governments. And clearly, this is also an economic imperative. This is not just an ideological agenda for democracy or citizen participation. This is also a strong economic imperative. Mr. Vijayanand mentioned it. The CAG of India himself alluded to it in the context of attracting investments. And the irony here is autocratic China has more empowered mayors and local governments in cities than democratic India. With this weak system of local governments, particularly in our cities, we simply will not be able to achieve ease of living for citizens and ease of doing business for trade and business. When we think business, we think it's all to do with Foxconn and large corporates. But actually, a lot of the economy is also driven by small businesses. And it is local governments which can ensure ease of doing business for everybody across the board, particularly by bringing government closer to citizens and businesses, and ensuring first and last mile connectivity of different sorts, and ensuring that their own resource allocation and annual budgets are oriented towards attracting investments and talent.
Thanks, Shrikant. So there are a few questions. I'll get to them. So one of the questions is about it's in line with what you were saying, that the local governments, or the necessity for having a strong local government, has not taken deep roots yet. So one of the audience is wanting to know, why do we still call the local governments as urban local bodies? And why is it not still, it has not caught up with the official language or in the official discourse? Why are they not called city governments or urban local governments? So have anything to say, or it's self-explanatory?
Absolutely. I think it is, I think, of course, at Janaagraha, we are big advocates for using the phrase ULG rather than ULB. So absolutely, those of us who are advocates of decentralization and empowered local government should definitely start saying urban local governments. Kerala, Mr. Vijayanand was here. Kerala calls its department the Department of Local Self-Governance. But I think the usage, the widespread usage of the phrase ULB reflects the thinking in state governments, that these are just extended arms of the state government. They are almost like parastatal agencies or outsourced service agencies of the state government. And therefore, they continue to call them urban local bodies. And you know, the fact that it's Panchayati Raj institution on the other side, you very often don't say rural local body. You call it a panchayat or a Panchayati Raj institution, which reflects a greater degree of a democracy and local self-governance, but we don't call it a Nagar Raj institution in the urban side. It reflects the mindset of state governments. We have to change it. And all of us collectively at least should start using the phrase ULG.
So as and when the 74th Amendment itself is overhauled to define some of these provisions more sharply and more tightly, probably the Nagar Raj can also find some find a place in the way the new legislations and the constitutional provisions are drafted. So one more thing, one more question I have from the audience is about the 74th Amendment and strengthening it. So this question is about, how do we build consensus for political consensus for effecting a further, amendment to the 74th constitutional amendment to make it more strong?
I think that's the biggest question that is confronting all of us who are advocates and votaries. So I think it's a great question. It's a tough question. I'll give you my personal view. 2-3 points I want to make. One is, I think we have to give ourselves a good 10 years of collective work to make a case with very key political leaders, influencers, decision makers in the political system so that this agenda becomes a political agenda. That's point number one. So we have to give ourselves 10 years and not believe this is a 1-year agenda, 3-year agenda, etc. The second point I want to make is that, I mean, you and I know that political agendas are very often public agendas, which means there has to be greater and greater number of citizens who not only complain about quality of life in cities, but are able to ask for systems reforms, are able to ask for decentralization and empowerment of local self-governments as an important pathway to better quality of life in cities. Today, we are still some time away from it because I feel many citizens in our cities continue to believe that a higher level of government can do a better job. So there is a lot of work to do for us to get more and more citizens behind the agenda, that at least you are able to hold your local government to much greater accountability and far more proximately. So I think that's the second point, which is we have to create a movement similar to what you've done with the Vatsamati Balaga in Karnataka. We need to create a coalition of civil society organizations, a coalition of councillors and mayors, a coalition of civic leaders in neighborhoods who ask for systems reforms, not just for reforms in better quality of life. The last point I want to make is I have a lot of hope in the smaller towns where I think land values are lesser and therefore political economy factors are less complex. If it is possible for us to bring in greater and greater degrees of decentralizations in your town panchayat, who pretty much have either transitioned recently from being gram panchayats or are still relatively small or early in their journey of urbanization, I think it is possible for you to replicate a lot of the good points in the 73rd Amendment or in Panchayati Raj in those cities. Therefore, you can have slightly more empowered chairpersons, like you have an empowered Gram Pradhan. Like you have a Gram Sabha, you can have area sabhas and active ward committees in these cities. Like you have a GPDP, a Gram Panchayat Development Plan, which is not just prepared or decided upon by the Panchayati Raj institution, but with active involvement of women self-help groups. We can also have a town panchayat development plan at the town level. So I feel that if you work reverse, where in parallel to asking for metropolitan governance in our larger cities and so on, if we can try and achieve radical decentralization in the smaller cities and towns, I think that would be a significant achievement. But at the top of all this is to make the political leader and to make the administrator understand that this is not an agenda only for transparency, citizen participation, and democracy, which are all very worthwhile causes, but this is a development agenda. You cannot achieve economic growth or environment sustainability or equity for the women, the urban poor, the differently abled, the elderly, etc., without empowered local governments.
Yes, Srikanth. So there is a related question from, I think a lot of it you already said. So there is a related question from Shivani from the Hindustan Times that when will the political establishment say that it is time? So what is the tipping point? So a lot of it you already said about, more and more people realizing that local governments are necessary and important to bring about the changes and improve the quality of life at the local level and start looking up to only to the state governments and union governments. So is there anything more that you would like to add? I think I just want to add a couple of points, then you can factor in. So even the CAG said that, mentioned earlier in his address about we going with specific solutions than just saying that things have to change. So there needs to be a proper structure for reforms. There needs to be a proper demand for reforms, and then there needs to be adequate capacity probably for the states and the local governments to roll out these changes. Otherwise, it just remains at a very ideological level that local governments have to be empowered. So anything you would like to add to this?
I just had one point. I think one of the green shoots which is appearing is the focus of state governments, both on job creation and economic growth, but also making it a lot more place-based and sub-state, which is why you now hear a lot of chief ministers talking about district level GDP, district level economic growth, district level economic plans, and so on. Now, the district is an interesting unit in India where with respect to villages, there are elected governments at the Jilla level. You have Jilla Panchayats. But the district also affords you the opportunity to think about rural-urban as a continuum, to think about rural-urban convergence, rural-urban integration. Therefore, if you're able to leverage the impulse for economic growth and job creation, think about place-based development, I think automatically local governments will start getting co-opted into that. And think of an integrated way at the district level where particularly the smaller cities and towns can come together with their rural counterparts to contribute to this discourse. So this is the only point that I would add in addition to whatever I had said in the earlier question. It's hard to predict. As Mr. Vijayanand said, these could be short windows. You may not get early warnings or early indications of this change happening. But let me hazard another hypothesis. To me, it appears that it is likely that the less urbanized state, the less developed states may steal a march with respect to decentralization over the more urbanized, more developed states. Because from other than Kerala, with the exception of Kerala, from what we are seeing in the other developed urbanized states of the West and the South, excuse me, there is not much that is happening on decentralization. Whereas in Uttar Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha, in states like that, you are seeing some green shoots of innovation and best practices with respect to strengthening local governments in various ways. So I'm wondering whether you will see them from less urbanized, less developed states, also as a matter of compulsion, of saying our state capacities are so weak that we cannot manage everything in a centralized manner. We don't have those models and that wherewithal. So fingers crossed, we'll have to wait and see over the next 5 to 10 years. But one thing is clear, this is an imperative. Many of us will have to get behind this agenda.
Rika, just to conclude this discussion, I think it has been a fascinating discussion, right from the CAG's address to all the great points that we got to hear from other panelists also. So to conclude, in conclusion, what are some specific roles and responsibilities that each of the stakeholders can play, right? Each of us, including the union, at the union government level or the parliament, then the state governments, then the city governments themselves, as well as the citizens and the community, in making our city government stronger so that we can deliver to ourselves, the citizens, a better quality of life and more ease of doing business. So what are some one or two priorities or roles that each one of us has to play?
Thank you, Santosh. I'd be failing in my duty if I did not commend Dr. Shelley Oberoi for her comments. It's only a public representative who has actually faced elections and performed the role of an elected representative who can speak as eloquently as she did, yet make some very, very sharp observations on what works and the agenda for reform. So that's one call out. In response to your question, I'd like to say 4 things. One, the Supreme Court of India has to take suo motu cognizance of delays in local government elections in India. They themselves have passed some excellent orders in the past, enforcing elections to local governments in various states in response to court cases. But they now have to take suo motu cognizance of continuing delays in local government elections. As you are aware, CAG audits have observed it. Our own studies show that at one point in time, 4 years ago, there were about 1,600 to 1,700 local governments, constituting more than 30% of the total number of local governments in India, which did not have elected government. So that needs to change. That's number one. Number 2, I have 3 points for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. 1, publish a devolution index for urban local governments on the lines of what the rural counterparts have done, with the support of Indian Institute of Public Administration, the National Institute of Rural Development, etc. Basis that, please push for replicable best practices with active intermediation, not just best practices in solid waste management and water supply, but push for replicable best practices in decentralization. When I say push for, I mean actively intermediate that, socialize that with states, incentivize states to adopt them. Second point, very important point, is to strengthen the Department of Local Self-Government within the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. That's been defunct for far too long. Remember that the equivalent of the DLSG on the rural side is an independent ministry called the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. So either the MOHUA has to meaningfully strengthen the Department of Local Self-Government, or if the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is imagining itself to largely be an infrastructure and service delivery ministry, because it also governs the CPWD, the CPHEO, the NBCC, besides running the central schemes and missions, then we will need the Ministry of Panchayati Raj to be reimagined as the Ministry of Panchayati and Nagar Raj. So it almost becomes like a Ministry of Local Self-Governments. So one of the two will have to happen. This is an important agenda. It is not enough for the union government to only run centrally sponsored schemes. They will have to strengthen local governments as a national agenda. The third thing, Mr. Vijayanand alluded to it, is to ensure that all centrally sponsored schemes in cities are necessarily tied to devolution-related reform agendas. It only partially succeeded in JNNURM, but the response to that cannot be that we give up on it. But we find creative ways to make it happen. The times are better now than they were 15 years ago. As far as the state governments are concerned, it's an irony that even the urban departments in state governments are split into two in many states. There is a separate municipal administration or urban development department that covers the traditional areas of urban infrastructure and municipal administration. Then there is a separate department that looks at housing, urban planning, etc. So it's not just a split between rural and urban, but it's a split even within rural, within urban, where the housing and urban planning department normally also covers development authorities. So this kind of fragmentation has to end. We need place-based focus. We need place-based governance at the union level and at the state level. Another agenda I would add to the union level is to ensure that we don't have our senior leaders in Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, etc., oriented towards centrally sponsored schemes, but they should be around regional economies. So you could have, one senior bureaucrat looking at the west and south, another senior bureaucrat looking at large, less urbanized states like Rajasthan, MP, UP, etc. You could have another one looking at hill states, which have environment sensitivities and so on. So even at the state level, thinking of a unified Department of Local Self-Governments is a worthy cause. The second is, even if they don't devolve more number of functions, completely get out of functions which are fully devolved in terms of administration. The last point at the city level, yes, they have very limited powers. I would say a councillor leadership development program is a very important agenda. Second, creating a network of mayors and councillors and civic leaders so that they are able to gain strength from each other, learn from each other, etc. And the third is strengthening the council infrastructure. The elected council in a city is like the Lok Sabha at the union level or like the Vidhan Sabha at the state level. There is no reason that these councils at the city level don't have the required digital and physical infrastructure that is necessary for them to fully utilize their existing powers, even including raising awareness, etc. So I think these are some of the agendas. I think we have our task cut out over the next 10 years. Hopefully it doesn't extend to another 15 years. But one thing is clear, we cannot accomplish the goal of Vikasit Bharat 2047 or the agenda of a developed India, which is able to raise economic growth, eliminate poverty, and but at the same time balance environment sustainability and equity without empowered local governments. That is a certainty that we will have to convey today to everybody listening and everybody who's likely to listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Srikanth, for the succinct remarks. I think on the councillor infrastructure and the support that the councillors also need, Dr. Shelley also alluded to that, how poorly they are staffed and they are even supported with allowances and all that. So that's an important point, and I would like to hand over to Mansi in just recollecting what Mr. Vijayanand said. There will be a short window, and I'm trying to connect this with what one of the friends in media had asked. There will be a short window, Mr. Vijayanand said, that where the window for decentralization will open or generally opens. It won't be a long window. That's what experience says. So hopefully the Viksit Bharat 2047 opens up, that endeavor or that goal opens a window for us to, strengthen the local government. So with that, I would like to thank all the panelists who had joined for this great conversation. I can only wish that we had more time to take up, more of these important subjects and more questions and remarks from the audience. But I guess that will be for another time. So look forward to that. And thanks, Shrikant, and thanks everyone. But I'll just hand over to Mansi to take us through the concluding part of this program.
Santosh, if I may just add in a word, just to
Please,
reiterate
please.
my huge gratitude to Mr. Sanjay Murthy, the CAG of India, Mr. Subir Mallick, the Deputy CAG of India, Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan, Principal AG Karnataka, for the time and engagement, and also for their leadership of such a crucial reform agenda. It requires a lot of fairly progressive, enlightened thinking to identify such a crucial agenda and to undertake performance audits of a fairly complex systemic framework, as Mr. Mallick mentioned, and do it at scale in a fairly short period of time. I'm confident that these audit reports will set in motion a virtuous cycle of responses and change in various ways, and we are looking forward to tracking them. So thank you so much to the Office of the CAG and all their representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Mansi?
Thank you so much, Shrikant and Santosh. So as we, before we wrap up the event for today, I'd like to thank again Mr. Murthy, the CAG of India, for sharing his valuable time and insights with us. I also thank Mr. Subir Mallick and Mr. Vimalendra Patwardhan for taking us through the findings of the performance audits. I also thank all the officials from the CAG office who helped coordinate this entire event and ensured smooth conduct of the event today. I would also like to thank all the panelists, Mr. Vijayanan and Dr. Shelley Oberoi, for enriching the discussion with their thoughts. I would particularly like to thank Mr. Keshavan Srinivasan, former Deputy CAG and Senior Advisor Janaagraha, for his invaluable support and guidance throughout the planning of this event. I would also like to thank Shrikant, our CEO, and Santosh for their overall guidance, as well as all the colleagues from Janaagraha, particularly the communications team, the tech and admin team, and all the program teams for all their support in making this event a success today. Before I end, I would also like to inform all of you that the entire month of June, starting from tomorrow, we will be running a social media campaign commemorating the 74th Constitution Amendment Act and also highlighting the reforms needed to further strengthen the constitutional framework. I invite all of you to reach out to us, to join us, to partner with us on this campaign and in making it a success. Thank you for everyone who joined us online as audience and engaged with us through their thought-provoking questions. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week ahead. And wherever you are, do whatever you can to make our cities more empowered. Thank you.
Thanks, Mansi. Also, I would like to acknowledge our media friends who have joined and who have been part of this program. Thank you so much all. Have a good day.